Listen, make no mistake. These are the two best coaches in the league right now. And this is what makes this game so exciting. I'm really looking forward to see who's going to win between Jose Rivero, the master planner, a guy who knows the tendencies of your team better than you do. So well that he even understands how to come into games and how to look for moments. You see, this Pirates team is not a team that's coming to play. It's a team that's coming to win. And they understand that we don't have to look good for 90 minutes. In fact, most of the team doesn't have to look good for 90 minutes. But when that moment comes, we're going to take advantage of it. When that moment comes, you can't fall asleep versus Pirates. You can't look at the clock and think, hey, it's 90 minutes, accelerate. You have to be present for that whole game because that is what this Pirates team has done. So him reading the game and knowing the team beforehand and setting up his script is going to be very interesting because he's taking on Cardoso. Somebody who doesn't care to change things. 35 minutes takes off from Kulise and changes the entire game. Do you know what's great about Miguel Cardoso? What's great about Miguel Cardoso is that it's sort of like he understands his team so well. And he's truly adaptable. Actually adaptable, yabo Rulani, who played the chameleon and then played kitchen sink. I call it chameleon and kitchen sink football. When the chameleon was failing against low blocks, he'd then go into the kitchen sink and bring in Abo Mendieta and play crosses and pummel the team until something breaks. Or Coach Mangoba, who had an attacking style of play, but he didn't have another plan for when you go and play Polokwane City and you can only get your first shot in the 80th minute. Miguel Cardoso switches games up very quickly. He reads the game, he answers questions. So watching those two go up against each other is going to be incredible. Let's start with Pirates. Pirates this season is playing out of their skins. And what I love about Pirates this season is two things. Number one, the strength of the team. Most teams have 2 or 3 players that you have to rely on day in and day out in order for them to fish them out of trouble. And if they don't go, nobody goes. But go Pirates, if you're looking in Phokeng and Phokeng has a bad game, Nkota scores. If Nkota's having a bad game, Tito comes in. If Tito's not going to score 2 goals, then Mabasa will score. If Mabasa's not going to score, then Mahupa will jump in. Oh, by the way, Talenta can score. And we just saw this past week, that Makaula and Hoto can step in as well at any time. That is a strong team. That is a team where you don't know where the credible threat for that day is going to come from. I mean, we all speak about Mfokeng, but Mfokeng sometimes goes missing in games. But it doesn't matter because somebody else is stepping up. The second best thing about this Pirates team for me is that they know how to suffer. CBC and Sesani, even though he won't be available, they've stepped up big. Sipo Chain has stepped up incredibly this season. Guys, Pirates doesn't control the end of matches. They usually do their business early and then they watch you. So if Sundowns has one weakness that they can has a weakness that they can exploit of Pirates, is that you can come in versus Pirates and you're going to get your chances. Clear-cut chances. It's up to you to take them. Because Pirates is going to arrive, score their goals, and then sit back. When you look at Pirates right now, the one thing that's lacking is their midfield play in terms of Mbata and Makaula actually progressing the ball. They don't have a ball progressor, which means that Tito often has to come deep or they have to go up the sides. So Abo Van Rooyen become very important players. Abo, that long ball that goes from the defense all the way to the sides, to the wingers, becomes an outlet that they have. But in this game, I believe Mabasa is out suspended. So that means Mahupa will start, which will give Chain one more option to go directly up the pitch and for Mahupa to win the first ball. Now, if it wasn't for the suspension, I wouldn't play Mahupa. But what Mahupa does give you is the ability to win the first ball and sort of bypass the midfield and get all the way that side. How they were playing him earlier in the season was that uMakgopa would win that ball and you'd watch Mbata and Dlamini run past him. And it almost becomes a 4 in the attack. It would be Kimang Mfukeng, Nkota, Dlamini Talente. They'd run past him and they'd score because uMakgopa was moving around the defenders, pulling them out, pushing them back, doing all of those type of things. I worry for this game because uMakgopa can't play with Utito. He can't link up with Utito well, and I think that they crowd each other. So Tito wants to play the central space, Fukeng wants to play the central space, and Makgopa wants to play the central space. So if Pirates wants to win this game, I think you push Makgopa forward to give you a physical presence. We saw what Utlele was doing at the beginning of the Golden Arrows game, pinning back the defenders. We saw what the Maniema Union striker was doing, pinning back the Sundowns defenders to allow the faster players around to run. So if I can point to the Maniema Union game, you'll see that the defense was so preoccupied with number 9, that big number 9, Umbemu or something like that, that it allowed, there was a jersey number 10 that came in second half who could run around. If you look at Cele, he had Usbia who could run around. And where Pirates has an immediate advantage over Sundowns in that regard, if they're going to go that way, is that Pirates has 3 of those players. Nkota can do that, Masongwanyi can do that, Rile can do that. I think what Pirates should be trying to do versus Sundowns is to use what they do very well. There's a left-hand side overload that is very key for that team. And Mamelodi Sundowns has looked a little bit shaky on their right-hand side, especially if you've got a presence keeping khoza busy, then usually on transition, you can break into that space. And if whoever it is going to be on the right, whether Modau makes it back into the team or Mdunyelwa carries on, what they're going to have to look out for is Tito drifting towards the left, Mfukeng being there, and then also Hoto coming up. So it becomes a 3v1, 3v2 situation on the left-hand side, and that's usually where they attack from. What's nice about Makgopa, even though it's something that Pirates doesn't do, is that Makgopa provides an aerial presence even in the box for crosses, which is something that Mamelodi Sundowns has struggled with. They've struggled with high balls into the box. They've struggled with decision-making inside the box. But because it's not something that Pirates does, and Makgopa is not a set header, he more wants it when they're running in or facing the own goal. They're the goal in that little passage. Pirates doesn't do that a lot. I think Nkota, if he does play, is going to be a very important player because, like I said, Mamelodi Sundowns struggles a little bit when the centre backs are pushed out. So if you can get Libusa out of position or whoever's going to be playing there when you take advantage of the pushing. So let's say on the left-hand side, what's his name? The left-hand side defender, I'm forgetting his name right now. If he pushes up, he's often late coming back. So if you can push the centre-backs out and take advantage of the chaos. Pirates is a wonderful chaos team. They love chaos in the final third. The only issue with Pirates is that they haven't been scoring as much from their forward play, strictly. So if you look at the last game, it was a free kick, it was a set-piece header. They tend to lose themselves, but never count them out. Like I said, they don't fall asleep, those boys. So whenever you're going to try and do something, they will take advantage of it. Now, the strengths that I mentioned right now about the suffering is also the biggest weakness in that you will get chances when you play against Pirates. It's just about whether you're going to take them or not. And I don't want to blow this out of proportion, but Pirates literally has conceded 5 goals in the league, same as Mamelodi Sundowns. So we can't say that those defenses are weak. But playing versus Richards Bay or TS Galaxy is different to playing against a Mamelodi Sundowns. What's interesting though is the more you go at Pirates, the more you open up. So if you think about the goals that they've scored versus Ahly, I believe in the game before the last one that they played, they also had a goal from Umabasa on a counter. They sort of want that. They score their 2 goals, they suck you in, you start attacking, you start getting confident, and then boom, they've scored another one. Now it's 2-1, it's 3-1. So if you look at the derby, for example, they should have scored a few more goals through Mabasa, but because Upule Mori didn't take his opportunity early, in like the first 3 minutes, I think it was, then you are lining yourself up for Pirates to come back and hurt you. But like I said, this Pirates team is not a team that's coming to play. They're coming to win. And they haven't looked pretty, but they've been effective. And I think that is the most amazing thing from this season. You can call it luck, but if you're calling it luck and it keeps on happening, at some point it's a pattern. And the pattern says that Orlando Pirates knows how to suffer. They know how to punish when they need to punish. And if we alahla, they hit you on the counter. The players to look out for, obviously, Chain is a big one. He's been a big influence in what Pirates has been doing because he's been playing out of his skin. Also, with the lack of ball progressors, not having Da there, maybe not having Sesane and having to deal with Oki, most probably, and Upodlela, there isn't that first play. So there's a long ball that Chain likes to play over the midfield into the attacking thirds on the sides. Right, it is going to be a fight in the middle for Pirates, and I foresee Makaula being very busy unless Talet pulls up his socks or Tim plays. And if you're going with Tim and Makaula, yes, you're not going to be able to play the ball out as comfortably, or you're not going to be able to have that attacking threat. But I think Tim can handle the ball a little bit better, but you'll have defensive solidity because Pirates' problem is the wings. Van Rooyen goes, or whoever, Libito, Munyani, it's a trend. They go up and they're sort of supporting Kota, who's normally wanting to be an inside forward. You have Hoto pushing forward for that overload I spoke about earlier. And they leave two at the back with Makaula sort of roving. And having Shalulile on the pitch, having Matthews on the pitch, I don't know if Pirates can do that. So they're going to have to try and discipline that back four. Even if it means, this would be crazy, but even if it means bringing in a Mayela and making it a back three for most of the game with Makaula in front of them. It would mean that Hoto would have to play that hybrid wing role that he plays normally, but I think you need to do one of those. Maybe even sacrifice Nkota. Bring in Marco on the left-hand side, have Hoto play on the right-hand side, just to keep some discipline that side, because he is the all-saver at Pirates. So that's Orlando Pirates. They're playing against a Mamelodi Sundowns team that is coming together well. Okay, so I know I stopped the video a lot, and a lot of you are wondering, why are you asking for money? So I wanted to show you. I asked for money because I want to do more of this. Huh? But the truth of the matter is that it took over an hour in order just to render that shot. And it takes even longer when I'm doing my normal content because, guys, here's the unsung hero of the channel. And unfortunately, Shem, but the screen is broken. I have to use a second screen and the performance is not up to it. So I'd really love to upgrade things like that. And when you look over here, this is what the setup looks like. Rehenga di patlo and rehenga di green screen, which is a reality of being a South African content creator. Also, this is what people think is my studio. It's actually my house. So if you still don't know that I'm doing all of this from my home, then I don't know. But that is essentially what I want to do. More of these cool things. But I need you guys to please help me out by donating 50 Rand or more into this account. You know, we're fighting for multi-choice. And multi-choice, but these subscription models all over the place. And I'd love to give the biggest quality while also being able to pay my rent and do things like that. That is where your money is going. And I promise to give you only the best content that I can if you do throw something in. So I just wanted to show you guys what I want to do with your money. I want to take this South African football and fulfill my dream of taking it into the future. But thank you guys so much. Remember, this is the bank account that you deposit into. Get back into the video. You know, Mamelodi Sundowns is a silent killer. People don't rate Cardoso. People don't rate the play. People don't rate those things. But they've been getting results. And one thing about Sundowns is that they are very consistent in the league. They stack up those points like crazy. Now, what's very interesting about Sundowns that we saw in the game versus Supersport was that Mokwena was playing more of a disciplined 6 role And I don't know if it's because Umkhulise Ageko, so they trust Jayden a lot more. If you looked at that midfield, Mokwena was at the base, and Jayden and Allende were trading, going up and coming back down, which is something that you didn't see when Mkhulise was on the pitch or after Obas was injured. Sundowns became a very conservative team that used to come all the way back and pull Allende back and pull Ribeiro back. And if there's something about Ribeiro, the further he is from the goals, the less effective he is, because he tends to be selfish and he tends to make the wrong decisions until he's up there. What's interesting about Sundowns is that we've seen now different ways that Sundowns can approach a game, whether it be the chameleon way, whether it be the transitions that Coach Mangoba wanted, to now having Miguel Cardoso, who's very interesting because I criticized this team a couple of weeks ago, speaking about how it feels as though there's no defensive discipline, there's no positional discipline at Sundowns. Like the players have all been given free roll and they weren't really understanding where to go. But boy, does it change. Boy, does it change when they started clicking. And I think part of that clicking came from resurgent Peter Shalulile coming back into the team and leading them in a couple of comebacks. And I think Ushalulile was the jolt of spirit that they needed, because at some point it looked like the Sundowns players were a little bit dejected, out of the game. They weren't really onto it. You could look at the body language and you could see that something was wrong. But after those games, I think it gave them a little bit of something. So now you'll even see that not only are they disciplined, they're passionate. The same Ribeiro I'm speaking about is now tracking back and making tackles. The same Ribeiro I'm speaking about, the same Shalulile who's come with the work rate, Matthews who's come with the work rate. What's very interesting is that since Shalulile has returned and replaced Reyners, Mamelodi Sundowns has a different dimension as well to their game. Similarly to how I spoke about Pirates being able to play that long ball into there. Look at how interesting it is for Mamelodi Sundowns to be able to play ball straight to Shalulile, who can play with the defense on his back, who can run in behind, who can control and pass and reposition. The goal he scored 2 matches ago. I think that has changed the outlook of the game. And dropping Reyners and bringing in Matthews, I think has also been a very big change, because Matthews understands the movement of the football, he understands the intelligence, he understands what to do and where to go. And what that does is that when Shalulile would run into a place and him and Reyners would maybe clash, Matthews doesn't mind going around. He doesn't mind going and finding a different space. He doesn't mind that. So it gives the Mamelodi Sundowns attack a fluidity that it didn't have before. And when I speak of Sundowns struggling, I speak of Sundowns as to their standards of what we thought Sundowns play was. I'm also guilty. I'm also guilty of asking questions when Cardoso was brought in. I'm also guilty of thinking that Mamelodi Sundowns would go off a cliff. But this Sundowns has shown that, we've still got it. And we're quietly doing it. And by the time you wake up, while you're looking at Pirates, by the time you wake up, it may be too late. Now, how should Sundowns approach this game? What I like about Sundowns is that their transition has pace and control. So Ribeiro can control the ball and make a pass, similar to Shalulile. And Pirates' glaring mistake has always been, like I said, left and right back pushing forward, leaving 2 men in defense and Makaula. You cannot leave 2 men in defense and Makaula versus Peter Shalulile, Matthews and Ribeiro. That you can't do, because they will tear you apart on their counters. In fact, if it wasn't for his dip in form, this might even be a Reyners game in terms of the countering of that, right? So what's very interesting about this game is that you're seeing 2 teams that are pretty much looking at the game similarly to a degree, but they both have potent counterattacks. Now, for me, one of the weaknesses that Mamelodi Sundowns has is, again, the physicality. The defenders struggle when they have a big striker who can guruza them a little bit. They struggle with holding that man down while the other players play. The other thing is that if you can press smart versus Sundowns, you could probably win the ball back. Ronwin doesn't have that many outlets outside of khoza and sometimes mokwena. And mokwena is known to misplaced passes every now and then. So if you can use that front four, and knowing that Makhupa is very good at pressing, you could probably force some mistakes. The one thing you don't do versus Sundowns is to sit back, because they gain confidence and they build on that confidence. So Pirates needs to go into this game and be scary. Be scary enough that Divine Lunga, yes, there he is, that you can't push Divine Lunga up, or Tiwani. Be scary enough that you can't push Johannes up, or Mtunielwa, or if miraculously one of Mudau or Kimang Morena come back. You got to be scary enough and just keep reminding them that Mfukeng and Kota are there. Don't leave your post, because then you rob them of the extra man up front. So I think that's what Pirates has to look out for in this game. If we look at players that have an impact, obviously Chain Makaula has been marshalling the defense very well. And I say marshalling the defense because he's the sole cover for that defense. I think Usbisi is going to be tested quite a bit, so he's going to have to be awake, especially for those runs by Ushalulile, the diagonal runs in behind the defenders in the small spaces. They're going to have to be awake, which is something that sometimes they've struggled with. Talent is going to have to come to the party this game. This is not a game where the midfield can be weak. And then, the usual suspects, Mfukeng, Tito and Kota, are going to have to stretch the Sundowns defense if they want to get something from this game. So all in all, I think this is going to be a very interesting game. And before I go, I just want to give props to these teams. Guys, how incredible have these runs been that these two teams have been on? At the beginning of the season, Pirates placed Disciples to a 0-0 draw in the first leg of their first preliminary round to qualify for the Champions League. And I was thinking to myself, no way, Jose. How can you allow this team to be inconsistent for another year? I was expecting this team to go up and down. I was expecting this team to, be the most dangerous team in the league, but the one that is not consistent where games are lost. And to have the Pirates sitting here with 3 losses, unbeaten from the Champions League group, and doing this. Think about all the questions that were asked. Oh, can you handle Champions League and MTN8 and Carling and Nedbank and the league? Can you find consistency to get points together, because you're going to have to get historic points in order to beat Sundowns? Look at what they're doing. Look at Mamelodi Sundowns. Rulani was fired, let go, or mutually parted ways. Coach Mangoba was fired after Magesi. Coach Cardoso came in as the first non-South African coach since Coach Pitso, 15 years ago, 12 years ago, to come in. You wouldn't have been looked at as crazy to think that maybe Pirates has also run its course. I mean, that Sundowns had run its course. That Sundowns was done. That Sundowns had fallen off the cliff. That the empire had crumbled. But here they stand. With all the talk and the peperezing, Miguel Cardoso is unbeaten right now. Mamelodi Sundowns is still atop of the league. And do you know what? They're scoring. Take away those 8 goals that Pirates scored versus Marumo. Sundowns is actually scoring at a crazy rate. But both of these teams to only have conceded 5 goals so far in the league. Both of these teams doing what they're doing. The players stepping up. I think it's going to be incredible. Now, the game itself for me is going to be a cagey affair. I don't think either team is going to want to make a mistake in this game. So we're probably going to see them feel each other out for a lot of that game. And I think if it is a win, it's going to be a win by a 1-goal margin. It will probably become a free-for-all. I'd say in the last 20 minutes, there will be a free-for-all. Everybody will be trying to go back and forth. But my best bet is that a point this early in the season is a good point. And I think both teams are going to be doing that. The next time they meet is going to be, for me, the game that's going to decide everything. But I'm so excited, guys. I'm so excited. Rivero versus Tito. Yeah. Mfukeng versus Matthews. Chain versus Williams. Yeah. CBC versus Khoza. I'm looking at the form players. Mokwena versus Makaula. Jose versus Miguel Cardoso, guys. I can't wait. I am so excited. I don't think it's going to be visually fun, but it's going to be tactically very interesting. Anyway, guys, hey, Star Wars. Let's see how that game is going to play out. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone.